Yes, I'd like to endorse that, but I just wonder, are the underlying tendencies the asavas?
Asava, underlying tendencies are asavas. You can say asava and you can say anusaya.
Right.
Anusaya, asava.
And you eliminate them by vipassana meditation.
Yes, that is vipassana meditation is the only tool, only avenue you can get rid of them completely. Vipassana.
Vipassana. Oh, that's very good. Thank you.
But Bhante, you also mentioned tranquility meditation, so that has a role to play as well.
Yes, true. The role of the tranquility meditation is that it will calm your mind, calm down your mind, tranquilize your mind, and it will provide, and also it will make a ground for that insight knowledge to come up, to rise. So that is why it says that samahito, the concentrated, samahito yathabhutam pansati. That means concentrated minded person will see things as they really are. So concentration, without concentration, it will never come.
Right. Yes, that's what I was hoping you would say, because there is a little bit of a tendency to go with mindfulness and insight and letting things be and noticing how things are and so on. But I have the feeling that you were just saying now, that the two are not separate. They are interwoven, they are connected.
Yes, interconnected. It is, you can say, Alison, in this way, sometimes you can see it objectively and subjectively. In meditation, you should have an object. That is called meditation object. Meditation object may be tranquility meditation object. It does not mean that object is supportive and helpful for insight knowledge. It is helpful for mind to be concentrated on it. So you see that object is there, and this subject mind becomes concentrated and calm and tranquilized because of this object. It is one way. And just using this object as a concentrated object, then having concentrated, you just use that concentrated energy, concentration for other purpose. And that is objectively. Subjectively means, you see, this object is not the concentration. Don't get complicated. This object, meditation object, is not the concentration. It is a supportive condition and a supportive object for this mind to get concentrated. But concentration happens in the mind. Here, this is subject. And again, on the other hand, after concentration, wisdom arises. Connected to this concentration, wisdom slowly comes to the surface, connected to the concentration. Based upon this concentration, wisdom rises. Then secondly, wisdom can see what is this object. This object is conditioned, and this is not going to last for long. It vanishes quickly. It rises and vanishes. It appears and disappears. Rising and disappearing aspect is seen in the same object from this subject later. You see, the subject is there. Subject first concentrated, then subject get that knowledge. Then in two different ways, this object is seen. Firstly, as a concentration object. Secondly, as an insight object. Did you get it?
Yeah, I think I understand what you're saying, that you mustn't get hooked on that or tempted to think that object that you've concentrated on, such as maybe the breath. In fact, the breath is a very good example because you see the breath rising and falling, and as you get more and more concentrated, you see not so much of the rising and falling because it more or less disappears in the end from your view.
Yeah.
But you mustn't ever think that is going to be your refuge.
Yeah.
Because it's anicca, dukkha. It's still, as you say, it's conditioned.
Yeah.
That's where the insight comes in.
Insight comes, yes. It's a very good example you took. Yes, breath is there. We start our breath meditation, anapanasati meditation, just noticing breath in and out, in and out. We are not going to see changes from the very beginning. Taking sometimes, we concentrate our mind on it. After that, we just go to see it is simple and hidden nature. Yes, very good example.
Thank you for your help, Bhante.
Okay.
Sorry, I have just one question. You did mention avidya, but you didn't go into it. Were you saying that all of those sort of mental actions sit underneath that avidya?
Abhijja, yes. Yeah, Abhijja, no.
So that's the bigger, that's the kind of...
Yeah, Avidya is, you mean the delusion or covetousness?
You did mention it, but I don't think you mentioned it as a specific mental action, did you?
Yeah, Abhijja means the very strong desire.
I think you mentioned it when you were talking about covetousness. Is that right?
Yes. Covetousness.
And you were defining avidya as being connected with a strong desire for something?
No, avidya and abhijja are two words. Avijja is delusion, ignorance.
Yes.
Avijja, A-V-I. This is, abhijja means A-B-H-I.
Thank you, Bhante.
Yeah.
Right, a different word.
Different words, yeah. It may sound similar, but different words.
Thank you.
Yeah.
At the same time, Bhante, the short paragraph number 5 talks about delusion being the root of the unwholesome.
Yes.
So underlying any of those unwholesome actions, including covetousness, there is delusion underlying.
Yeah. That's right. That's right.
Lovely.
Okay.
Thank you.
May you be...
Sadhu.
Thank you, Sukhihotu.